Okay, so I'm gonna do a movie chat. I have not watched that many. This is the the morning after. This is the day after I watched The Matrix, and I was excited to see what some other people thought of it because I didn't watch any spoiler reviews before. I haven't watched that many, but right off the bat, people are mad, and I just wanted to say a few things about that and other movies. So I think I'm gonna end up doing. I don't know if I'm gonna do a best of, worst of um, video. I haven't seen that many things, but my issue now is like I was thinking about it, and I've been trying to do my little movies in backwards order list like I always did. And like I said, I've only seen a handful of movies, like literally a handful. But I do have some favorites, and I do have some that I hate. So I was like, maybe I should use just the best and worst, which I can't really say best and worst either because I haven't seen enough to say that. But I would have to say, you know, my favorites and the ones I hate or whatever. But the thing is about that, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, because I watch so many things that are actually TV series, and to me, I'm like the cinematic thing is gone, and like this is where me and Martin Scorsese disagree on the whole nature of theater and stuff like that. I still do. I mean, yesterday when I sat in the theater and the previews are going, it just, I'm sitting there, I got my foots up on my Barca Lounger chair, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the screen, and I was overwhelmed with this, like, oh my god, I'm so pissed at what they took from us, meaning when, you know, our leaders decided to do lockdowns and forced everything to shut down. I just got an overwhelming feeling of anger that they, you know, did take it away, or I thought they were attempting to take it away forever. And just the feeling that I, you know, I hadn't done that for, you know, not 2 years, but like a year and a half, definitely. And, well, almost 2 years, you know, and it's just, I just got an instinct of just this anger, like I just wanted to beat them up. You know what I mean? I was just like really, really angry that how dare they, you know, how dare they take this. You know, I could get silly, but you know, it means something, and this is where the cinema experience is important, stuff like that. But having watched a lot of things, you know, I didn't watch that much, but I watched things at home. I've watched it either on the TV because I got it Blu-ray or whatever, or I've watched it streaming on my laptop, which is not ideal. But so the things I've seen, some of them, like I haven't watched this year's Yellowstone, but you know, shows like that, and Mayor of Kingstown, and even this 1883, which I'm not really a fan of. They're cinematic. Get Back, the Beatles thing, you know, that I'm like, is that as it's and finishing up, my brain that used to really be into the Oscar race and stuff like that, and you know, not so much the Emmy race, but still, I was like, what is it? Is it a movie? Is it what? You know what I mean? And I'm like, if I put it on my movie list, it might be everything else. And I had this issue years ago with Twin Peaks: The Return and Game of Thrones, and it was like that year that Twin Peaks: The Return is out. I was like, if it had played, and if all those episodes had played in the theater, and we counted it as one thing, that would have been my favorite movie. Not just episode 8. I don't even really like episode 8 that much. The one that everybody thought was so amazing because it was like, if I don't want to call it avant-garde, you can't call David Lynch avant-garde anymore because, you know what I mean? David Lynch is more avant-garde than the word avant-garde or the term avant-garde. So it's David Lynch. But, you know what I'm saying? So, now in terms of me, you know, I'm part of me want to include Get Back on my movies list that I've always done, and I'm like, this is getting stupid. So I kind of feel like changing my list to, you know, I don't know what to call. What would you call movies anti? What's the umbrella term? You can't call it cinematic art. You can't call it, because then you got the word cinema in there. What would you call them to make them all the same? Because the way we're getting these things, in my case, forced because of lockdown mostly. Yes, I've watched a great deal of movies I like on TV because they were old movies and I, from the 50s, and I never saw them in the theater and stuff like that. This is how my brain jumps around. I saw the trailer for Casablanca when I was before Matrix Resurrections. I actually saw Casablanca years ago at Radio City when they had like I don't think it was a retrospective. It was some kind of weird. It wasn't a film festival. It wasn't a retrospective. I don't know what it was, but they were playing. They had like a week or two where they were playing movies. Like I saw that, and I saw The Exorcist at Radio City. This was way back. Anytime I talk about New York, I'm basically, most of the time I'm saying the 90s. I'm talking about in the 90s when I lived there. Unless I say we went. That means me and my mom got on a bus in the last 20 years at some point and went for, a night or so. But I'm always digressing. I should just call this whole thing digressing. This should be the name of my channel because that's all I do. But I don't know, like, everything is so mixed in. And even talking about Resurrections myself, I was saying how much it was like Sense8, which is Wachowski series that in the olden times would have been on TV. With streaming, you're getting these works of filmed art. I mean, you can't say film. What in God's name would you call them all to make them all the same thing? Because I would like to find that term, and then I would like to use that and just, put a TV series before or after a movie in terms of my list for the year, my top 10, instead of making the top 10 movies and top 10 TV series, because to me there's the difference is kind of gone. And I say that as someone older, and maybe the kids don't even know, but there was such a huge difference between movies, even the worst movie, and TV shows. When we were growing up, it was like two different things. It was like the difference between, a professional baseball team and your high school's JV team. You know what I mean? TV being the JV team. So, and actors who really consider themselves actors wouldn't be caught dead on television back in the day because it was just a lower medium, in terms of clout. There were some great things that came on TV. Everybody knows that. But in terms of quality and, stuff that there was a strict divide. And so you could watch a movie on TV and appreciate it, but it was still a movie. You know what I mean? Like if you came home and watched Amadeus or something, or you never saw it on the screen, the big screen, you just saw Amadeus, you could see the cinematicness, you could enjoy it almost as much as seeing it in the theater. But you know what I'm saying? But you could tell the difference. You can't tell the difference anymore. And like I said, things like, especially things like Game of Thrones that were so cinematic. I think Game of Thrones, whatever anybody wants to say about the last seasons and stuff like that, it doesn't matter. You didn't have that cinematic TV like that. That was like, okay, here we're competing with Lord of the Rings and we're coming through your television set. You know what I mean? I've watched people recently react to The Long Night, and I was like, damn, I wish I saw that in the theater. You know what I mean? I really wish I'd seen that in the theater first, because that to me was just so cinematic. I didn't know people don't like it, whatever. I love it. But the point is, so if the world was better than it is right now, if my life was better than it is right now, I would still love to be the person who goes to the movie theater a couple times a week and watches movies like that. I enjoyed that. I mean, I took a quick picture of the screen when it had the what do we call it, the trailer thing that comes up, the trailer card, and I was like, back home, because movie theaters are kind of my second home. Not that I was like crazy like these other people who go constantly, stuff like that, but in terms of where I feel like I belong there, I'm comfortable there. You know what I mean? That was the other place. That's why it was so hard when they took it away. And just sitting in the theater thinking about how they took it away, I just got so angry. But anyway, some of the things people have been saying about Matrix Resurrections, I was just sitting there and I'm like, I watched a couple people's, not that many. I'm going to still watch some more, so I'm going to talk about this more later. That's why I'm just making this movie chat, not specifically about the response. I'm looking at some of them and I'm like, oh, you might be dim. You might be dim. Now, I'm not saying I'm a genius, and I'm not saying I got everything right. I have my own interpretations of things, and to some degree, being a Lynch fan, being a fan of movies, I think that's what you're supposed to do. I think creator makes their movie, film, whatever you want to call it, and then unless it's very straightforward and clear cut, you're supposed to come away with your own interpretations. You're supposed to come away with your own feelings. You're supposed to come away with your own shit. Now, even if you get it wrong, that's why, like David Lynch, again, I'm putting him, he said he doesn't want to explain his movies to people because he wants you to take away from it. That, to me, is why we should go. And the great ones that are different, and you can have your own interpretations. To me, like I said, I'm not 100% sure I got everything right, but I was listening to someone's review and they're talking about it and I'm like, wow. I don't think they understood a lick of the movie. And it's like, okay, if they're trashing it, and I'm like, okay, well, you have to be extremely confident in your analysis of the film, which I think is like totally, you just missed it entirely. And you're going to trash it and talk about how bad it is and wonder what the hell's wrong with people who aren't thinking it sucks. You maybe, before you get that confident about trashing it, you maybe want to reevaluate your own thoughts on it and sit there and think about it. Because especially with a movie that dense, I mean, if it's a norm. So what I was saying is, like I said, these people, some of them, they seem like they might be dim in their interpretations of these movies and their movie criticism. Now, we all can have our opinions of movies, even if we only seen one movie in our lives and we're 5 years old. It doesn't matter. You don't have to go to school for film criticism. You don't have to go to film school. You don't have to know anything about, you don't have to have read anybody else's movie reviews. You know, everybody has the right to their opinion, but when you're coming down hard on a movie and you don't understand why other people like it, and then you're betraying yourself by saying things that make you seem like you weren't bright enough to understand it, or even attempt to understand it, then that's a problem. And I'm not talking about most people, but like I said, in the case of a movie like The Matrix, if it's a normal movie and it's a very straightforward movie, fine, whatever. But when you know you're watching a movie that's complicated, and you know the other movies were complicated, and there's a lot of plot there, whether you like it or not, whether on first viewing you like it or not, and you don't have to, if you go and watch a movie once and you don't like it, I am not the kind of person who's going to say you need to rewatch it in order to like it. You don't have to. One viewing should be enough for anybody to decide what they think about a movie. But when you start tearing it to shreds and saying it doesn't make sense or things like that, and it's a very complicated movie, you should watch it. Because, not watch it, watch yourself. You know what I mean? You should check yourself before you wreck yourself. You should say, you know what? Yeah, I didn't like it. It was convoluted. That's why I don't like it. Or I understood it perfectly and I think it's stupid. Fine. But when you're talking about it and you're kind of betraying the fact that you just didn't understand it, and then you're talking about how shitty it is, that's a problem. So when you're that confident about a movie that's complicated, I just think that you're being a little arrogant, which goes along with being stupid. I mean, I would never call somebody stupid if they weren't arrogant. You know what I mean? People who are so glad to smell their own farts and think they're wonderful and think that they're the authority on anything, that's part of being stupid. If somebody really is low in intelligence somehow, for whatever reason, but they're a nice, good person, I'm never going to call them stupid. If you have a brain and you don't use it, or you choose to be an asshole, or you're just callous in your dealings with other human beings, these are the things I consider stupid. When you don't use the wisdom you should have for your age, when you don't use the brain you've got to not only think with, to be decent with, and to, you know, then that's what I consider stupid. But when I'm saying dim, it's like in this case I'm really talking about you didn't understand because you didn't pick up on things. And I'm not saying you had to pick up on everything. I know that I saw the movie. I like it. My first reaction is, oh my god, I love this. Through most of the movie, as I said before, not only did I liked Revolutions the best out of the Matrix movies, and this is what I'm saying, and I said it before I went in, that I felt, just from looking at the trailers, that people who only liked the Matrix and didn't like Reloaded and Revolutions, I had a strong feeling that they were going to hate it and I was going to love it. I actually did not like the first Matrix movie. Not, I disliked it. Not, I thought it sucked. I said before, it reminded me of Dark City, which I had seen and liked a lot, like the year before or something. And I was just like, oh, this is just like Dark City. I felt like it was a copy, and I was like, okay. When it became its own is when it had the mythology, when those other characters came in, and that's where it lost a lot of people who loved the first film. So if you love the first film and you hate this, I'm not surprised. And if you say I hated Resurrections, I loved the first Matrix movie, they shouldn't have made any sequels. I absolutely understand that way of thinking, and I agree that if you loved the first one, hated Reloaded and Revolutions, and now you really super hate Resurrections, that makes perfect sense to me. Perfect sense to me. I loved, like I said, Revolutions, then Reloaded. Kind of didn't like the Matrix. I know that doesn't make sense to people, but I really love Resurrections. Now, like I said, I liked the other things that I've seen from the Wachowskis, including Sense8 and Cloud Atlas. I even like Jupiter Ascending. So, like I said, I like weird. I like things that are out there. I'm going to appreciate originality over other stuff. Merovingian's my guy. But, yeah, so I'm looking at some of these things and I'm like, before you get so confident saying how much something sucks, you need to really think, does it suck, or am I just pissed that Lawrence Fishburne wasn't in it? Because I understand that too. But here's my thing. Now, I hated Man of Steel, right? Hated it. First thing I hated about it was that they, as far as I was concerned, they turned Superman into an asshole. And when, for my whole lifetime before that, he was supposed to be just the perfect, more perfect than humans can be, pure and truth, justice, in the American way and all that stuff. So to make him, what they did with it, I didn't like it at all. But when I went to see the other movies, I was like, okay, if I'm going to see these other movies with this incarnation of Superman, I can't still be pissed off at that. I can't go into this movie already hating Superman and being like, and complain about the same shit. I know that this is the Superman in this movie. I know that he's very much an alien, an asshole alien who is not, has not, no, American or earthliness to him. He's here as a weirdo who doesn't get human behavior. I don't know why my throat's scratchy all of a sudden. So going into, what was the second movie? The second movie, was it Justice League? I forget the order. I honestly do. So anyway, the point is, once I went to the next one, I was like, well, I can't make that complaint anymore. I can't be waiting for that heroic Superman. I know. I'm going to deal with the Superman that we have. And I knew that I couldn't judge the movie by that. Which movie was it? Whichever one it was. I remember thinking that other people came out and they were still complaining the same way I complained about the first movie about how Superman was a jerk. And, not a jerk, but Superman was not who he formerly was. And they wanted the old one back. And I'm like, well, that's not who we have now. So going into the new one, I could not say, well, I'm going to judge it based on before. I got to judge it based on knowing who he is now, and this is who it is, and I got to take it in that way. You know what I mean? And that would use that as a frame of reference. So here's my thing. People who are complaining, oh, I hated Resurrections. Why isn't Lawrence Fishburne in it? Why isn't Hugo Weaving in it? Okay. The kind of people I'm talking about, if you're complaining about that and you went into the movie theater knowing that Lawrence Fishburne wasn't in it and Hugo Weaving wasn't in it, like, yeah, okay, everybody go, oh, maybe they'll pop up, but in like a cameo or something, but you knew that there was going to be, I mean, if you saw any trailers or anything at all, you knew that there was going to be this younger Morpheus played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. So if you went in knowing that and you come on a movie, I hated it because Lawrence Fishburne wasn't in it, you knew that going in. So you went in hating the movie. Okay? I don't know. Otherwise, these are some things that I'm just like, everybody has the right to their opinion and stuff like that. So if you're overconfident in your intelligence when you're actually quite dim and you're not picking up on basic plot points, and then you're going to tell everybody how much the movie sucks and what's wrong with you if you like it, your problem. If You're going into the movie predisposed to hate it because you want to see Lawrence Fishburne playing Morpheus and you know he's not in it. Why'd you go? You know what I mean? You can't judge the whole movie. This is what I'm saying. That's why you have to go in knowing, okay, I know he's not in it, so I got to judge it based on that. If you're going to just be pissed, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go see the new Fantastic Beasts movie. I am never, I am a Johnny Depp supporter. I am not in the mood to see someone else play Grindelwald because he was replaced in a bad circumstances. I'm not going to go see it and pretend I'm giving it a fair shake and then say the whole movie sucks because they shouldn't replace Johnny Depp. No shit, they shouldn't replace Johnny Depp. That's why I'm not going. Okay, but I can't go and act like all the other actors sucked and the story sucked and everything about it sucked. And if all the work everybody else put in sucks. The costumes, music, the set design, the special effects. I can't dismiss everything else because I went to a movie that already pissed me off by replacing the actor that I wanted. I can't do that. So this is what I'm saying. So that's what I have to say about that for right now. Like I said, I think I may try to do some kind of best of, or I don't know what to do. Like I said, I can't think of the word to combine movies and TV into one thing. Like what can you say a TV show and a movie are? What are they both? Whatever that word is. I would like to make a top or my favorites of 2021 because I didn't see that many. I can't say top, I can't say best because I didn't see that many. But I did enjoy some things and I did kind of hate some things. So, yeah. I will look into doing that. I'm running out of space on this laptop. So, I got to organize my files and stuff. And, yeah. I loved Resurrections. Sorry. Bye.